Hey everyone, welcome to Mountain Beast Mysteries. Today I'm talking to Ben from 401 Files. So I hope you enjoy the conversation. We don't really talk about Bigfoot much, but we do talk about other mysterious things. I apologize for some of the audio, especially on my end coming through. It was kind of a tricky situation getting my audio and his synchronized in a way where there wasn't any echo from any of the feeds coming through, but I ended up just running with Ben's audio track, and you hear him fine, but my end can be kind of tricky to hear, so apologies in advance for that. If you haven't checked out the GoFundMe page for Bigfoot Quest for the Wildman, go check that out. The link is down below, and if you want to help out with that project, please make a donation. For all of you people who have donated so far, I can't thank you guys enough. You know who you are. It really means a lot to, have that support to help get these projects off the ground. So yeah, without further ado, here's Ben from 401 Files.
Have you been keeping track of the Area 51 raid? Have you been watching that?
Kind of, but not really.
Yeah, no, not me. I have not either. So, what is your take on the Area 51 scenario? Because I was thinking about this. Everybody's really excited about this Area 51 raid, and some people actually believe that these people, regardless of how many turn up, like people think, oh well, there's 1 million people, so they've got a good chance. To me, I think it doesn't care. It doesn't matter if you turn up with 2 million. You haven't got no chance of getting in that place at all. From what I've heard, like people that work there, Bob Lazar, when he talks about that place, a lot of it is underground anyway. So I don't know what they'd be hoping to achieve. It's quite comical.
Well, I can almost guarantee you they have like superior weapons of some kind. They could just take everyone out. Have you seen those? It's a neat kind of weapon that's been developed where it looks almost like a radar dish, and they'll point it at somebody and it'll basically hit you with something similar to like infrasound. It'll make you sick.
Yeah.
And they could just hurt some people away with it.
I've seen that.
Yeah, but I've heard there's, like, they have that S4 base, which is probably where...
Well, this is what I was going to ask you, is that Area 51 has always been the big one, like the big go-to top secret base when it comes to UFOs and extraterrestrials. But it's had so much publicity over the years. I was just going to ask, do you actually think that Area 51 still holds ties to the UFO phenomenon, or do you think that they will have long moved out of there?
That's hard to say. I'm sure they still do stuff with like aircraft, obviously, like whether testing new military aircraft. That's probably more or less the only thing they're doing there. I'm sure like the alien stuff, if they have it, is somewhere where nobody's gonna know where it is. Like it's probably inside of a mountain somewhere. Just like the S4 base, they say that's like underground or in a mountain.
Yeah. Apparently, all types of experiments and stuff go on at Area 51. Have you seen the Bob Lazar documentary that he's recently released on Netflix?
Yeah.
You seen that?
Yeah, I saw that, and then I recently listened to his episode on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, what's your take on Bob Lazar?
I don't know. It's interesting, like some of the stuff that he talks about is stuff that kind of ended up being real.
Yeah, well that's what I was going to mention, is that I think I heard something on a podcast the other day where Bob Lazar back in the day had mentioned some kind of element that was not even yet discovered, and now we know all about this element. So it's kind of like, how did he know these things back then if he didn't have any involvement in working with it? There's too many coincidences. I don't want... Yeah. There's things he says like that seem glorified and like seem like romanticized. Like he talks about certain things that you think, you're saying that because that is the holy grail of UFOs, like ufology. To say the things that you're saying you've seen is what everybody wants to hear, and so I think maybe he's lying. But then, when a lot of what he said starts to come true, you think, well, actually, maybe he did.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it could be true, and then there could be elements that are like not true or sensationalized.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think of like the news that came out the other day of them actually confirming, there's like these videos that are coming out of these UFO craft. They're actually like out there and we don't know what they are. Like the Navy was saying that about those those video clips that the guy from Blink-182 put out.
Yeah, is it Tom DeLonge, something like that? Tom DeLonge? Yeah, I think that's... I was going to ask you the same thing, actually. I was going to ask if you think that is disclosure slowly happening, because that is quite a big step for them to come forward and sit and admit that these videos are legit. And another thing I was going to ask on that subject as well is that a lot of UFO experiences now are seen around water, which is growing like increasingly. I don't know why that is, but a lot of pilots, a lot of experiences in the forest and stuff like that, it's all situated around water. And I don't know why that is, but yeah, I thought it was very interesting. Like, it's kind of a new thing to hear these stories of UFOs submerging underwater or reappearing out of the water. Years ago it was all in the deserts of like Mexico or in forests, but now we see a lot of stories where pilots are talking about objects submerging below the sea. So I don't know, maybe they've advanced in technology, who knows.
It's like, if you think about the best place where something like that could remain hidden, that's the perfect place, because there's no people walking around the surface of the ocean, right?
That's, yeah, so true. And I was also thinking as well, as if you think of like the vast crevasses down there and cave systems, who knows, maybe, I mean, at one point some of these oceans maybe never had water there, and they had access to these places. Who knows? That's one of the theories that I hear people throwing about every now and then, is that these craft are somehow taking refuge in these cave systems under the sea.
That's possible, I guess, but I don't have an answer to that.
No, I mean, like, if you look at the Mariana Trench, that the deepest place on Earth, just places like that all over the place that we've not yet discovered, and there's life down there that we still don't know about. So anything's possible, I suppose.
Yeah. One of the interesting things that I remember listening to with that Bob Lazar thing is that he was saying that some of the craft that they had that he saw looked as if they were like dug up somewhere in like an archaeological site or something like that. Like there was a couple of them that looked like they were recovered. You know, they were already on Earth and they were really old. You do hear things about like, oh, they say there's like a UFO underneath the pyramids in Egypt, and you hear really crazy stories like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I believe that to some extent. In World War II, we already know that Hitler was working on some type of craft that was based around the flying saucer shape. And so if you ask the question of where did he get that design from, because aviation, as far back as we know it, has always been a rudder, two wings, a tail, and that's kind of the shape that it's taken over the years. So all of a sudden we see that Hitler's designing some kind of craft that no longer have wings or a rudder, and you just think, where did he get that inspiration from? Where did that design just pop out of thin air from? So you never know. Like there's theories that obviously whenever there's conflict between countries, when after Pearl Harbor we had the lights over Los Angeles, the famous Battle of Los Angeles. So there's always interest from extraterrestrials, and the UFO sightings increase massively whenever there's a conflict. And so World War II, it just makes you think, was something captured or was something downed that Hitler managed to regain and back engineer? You never know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. And they had so many like strange expeditions going on.
They did, yeah, like Arctic. A huge interest in the Arctic for some reason during World War II. Everybody was racing to get there, and I don't know. I'd like to read into that more.
Yeah, pretty much the stuff you see in like Raiders of the Lost Ark is like stuff that actually was going on, like the weird expeditions to find like religious artifacts and whatever would give them some sort of edge. I don't know, they had that weird occult belief in like basically superpowers, which was very odd.
Yeah, I mean, again, for as bad as Hitler was, there's a lot that we took away from him and his scientists. We know that his scientists were dealing with women who could produce twins or identical twins. He was dealing with dropping dyes in people's eyes to try and give them a specific eye colour, and dealing with conjoined twins and trying to separate them, see how long they would survive. There was a lot of weird things going on at the time, and because of that we made a lot of breakthroughs in biology, science, and other places as well. So for as bad as Hitler was, and as bad as everything that he was doing was, we made a lot of breakthroughs because of it.
Yeah. What do you think of the moon?
Beautiful. I find it odd. I find it odd that it's stuck in a rotate. I find it odd that it's stuck in its orbit, so we will never actually see the backside of the moon because of the way the rotation is stuck. It's locked into place. I find that very odd. I also listened to a guy, again, this is on another podcast, and he believed that he could astral project, and the story that he told was that when people found out about his ability to astral project, he was trying to start his own company, I believe, of other people that can astral project, and some men in black type figures caught wind of this and pulled him into a room, took him out somewhere in the middle of nowhere, give him some coordinates. He had no idea where these coordinates were. His job simply was just to teleport there or astral project to these coordinates. It turns out, a long story short, that he actually was sent to the backside of the moon, and when he was explaining to these people in the room what he could see, he described that he was at a football game, or it looked like that he was at a football game. He could see lights off in the distance, like floodlights, and these people were saying that's impossible. Have a look again. Keep looking. You're wrong. And he said, no, that's what I can see. I'm on I'm in like what looks like a desert or a barren landscape, but there's lights off in the distance as if there's a stadium or some kind of built-up area, and these people just wouldn't have it. So yeah, he later came out and admitted that he believes they sent him to the backside of the moon to see what was going on. That was a very interesting story, actually. I'd like to find that again and listen to that.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of like the remote viewing program.
Yeah, that's like what he was talking about. It was kind of that thing.
Yeah, because there was one guy I was listening to. He was doing a lecture, and for whatever reason, he was like remote viewing things on Mars.
Yeah.
And like I can't remember how it worked. He was given like coordinates or something, and he was able to kind of basically describe what was at these different locations on the surface of Mars, and it was pretty accurate. You know?
It's so strange, like the whole world of astral projection just in itself is a strange phenomenon.
It is. Dude, the weirdest thing, like 5 or 6 months ago, I was doing a lot of looking into that remote viewing stuff.
Yeah.
And I went on YouTube and I found this channel, and the guy was like, he was doing like a thing that you could kind of go along with him, and he would give you like a set of numbers and whatever, and it was like a test that anybody at home could do to see if they could remote view.
Yeah.
I'll have to find the link for it and send it to you. But
yeah, definitely, please do. That sounds amazing.
He's like, I have a picture or an image in my mind of a place, a specific place in the world, and we're going to see if you guys can like guess basically where it is. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
So I wrote down all the information. There's like a list of things you kind of go through, and you usually write down like the first thing that comes to your mind, basically, for all these different categories of things. And at the end of it, you end up drawing like the first thing that basically comes to your mind.
Yeah.
And I ended up drawing like a scene of like these mountains, but they weren't like mountains you'd see like in Canada. It was a specific shape of mountain. It was really rounded at the top and really tall and just bizarre looking. That's what came to my mind. So I drew a scene with these mountains, and I imagine it as like jungle and whatnot. And then when he revealed the place at the end, it ended up being Machu Picchu in Peru.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the mountain like matched all the ones that I drew. So it was kind of like weird, but I'm still like suspicious. I don't know. So
just out of curiosity, when he was telling you that he's thinking of a place in the world, was he quite suggestive or forceful in the way he worded that? Or was he trying to subconsciously put Machu Picchu in your mind, or was he?
No.
That is so strange. That is the weirdest thing.
I'll find the video and I'll send it to you.
Did you freak out a little bit after you found out that you were so?
No, I was just like, what the hell? Like, I stood up and started like pacing around, just thinking to myself for a long time. I was like, there's no way.
Yeah, that is the weirdest thing.
But I don't know.
That is so strange. I don't know if it's the same thing, but I went through a stage similar where So there's remote viewing and there's astral projection. I think they're two different things. I went through a stage where I was trying to astral project, where you can come out your body during sleep, during REM sleep. I tried that for a few weeks. I got really far. So every video that I watched basically said that you'll know when you're about to astral project. You'll feel like a really strong vibration run through your body. At this point, it's when most people fail because they become aware of the vibration and snap out of the sleep. And so you need to push through that, and once you push through it, you'll be able to lift yourself up out of your body and look back at yourself in bed. So I'm laid there. I think this is like week 2. I've tried this like nearly every night now for 2 weeks, and I lay in bed, go to sleep, follow all the same routine, and I feel this really strong vibration just come up through my feet, right up to the top of my body, and I instantly just panicked, and I was like, what's happening? I just snapped out of it straight away. But I honestly feel like if I could have just stuck with it a little bit, I may have been able to do it. That was scary.
No, I'm sold on astral projection because I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Like there was a period of time back in like 2013, 2014 where I was really into like trying to do that.
Yeah.
And I would always get to that same point. I'd be lying in bed, and eventually I would feel the vibration so much it almost felt like the bed was shaking.
Oh my God.
Like it was that powerful, and I would think in my mind like, oh my God, it's gonna happen, and I would get so excited that I would snap out of it.
Yeah, it's so hard just to muscle through that vibration and stick with it. Like as soon as it happens, you become aware of it, and it's the worst thing you can do. But I honestly believe I've done it before in my life, but unknowingly. So when I was about 13 years old, I was gone to sleep. I never knew anything about astral projection, and basically I don't remember waking up, and I don't remember getting out of bed, but I remember clearly me walking down the stairs, and I literally saw me so I'm now looking behind at myself, so I can physically see my whole body walking down the stairs. It was so weird. And I opened the kitchen door. When I opened the kitchen door, I must have been back in my body at this point, because I now see my hand, not my full body. My hand grabbed the handle and opened the kitchen door. I walked over to the corner of the kitchen, and the dog was laid in his bed near the back door. And I remember clear as day, I remember this like it was yesterday. He was whining like as if he knew something was a bit wrong. So I grabbed all the washing that my mum had done. She'd put all the washing, all the clothes, tea towels on the side, and I just started throwing them in the dog's bed. And then that was it. I don't remember anything more. The next morning I woke up completely oblivious to what had happened, never remembered any of this. And I heard my dad shout upstairs, "Who the bloody hell's been putting all this washing in the dog's bed?" And I was like, as soon as he said it, I thought, oh my God, I've sleptwalked. So I just thought that I'd sleptwalked. And then I told this story to a guy at work. This is many years later. And I was telling him, he said, we were just in conversation. He said, have you ever sleptwalked? And I told him about this story. And he freaked out. And I was like, what? And he's like, mate, that's not sleepwalking. Like, if you can see yourself walking down the stairs, that isn't what sleepwalking is. That's like an out-of-body experience. And as soon as he said that, I got chills, and I was just like, you're right, I don't know what that was. But yeah, so I may have done it. Such a creepy experience. Like, I think to myself, how did I get down the stairs? Because obviously this was the middle of the night, all the lights would have been off. And I think, how did I get downstairs without falling? That is such a strange... I don't understand that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of crazy because there's a lot of people the majority of people obviously don't believe in astral projection.
Yeah.
But anybody could literally go and teach themselves a few things and get to that point where they start shaking in their bed, or like feeling those vibrations. And once you feel that, you'll be like, okay, this is probably possible.
Yeah, I think that's what made me believe.
Everybody's lying about it.
I'd love to do it again, but like I said, it's just going to be one of them things where it's getting past that vibration to make yourself do that. There was a guy actually, talking about dreams really quickly, there was a guy, did you ever see the series Strange But True? I think it was a UK series, but you may have seen it.
Yeah.
There was an episode on Strange But True, and there was a guy who claimed that when he sleeps, his dreams mean certain things. And he predicted so much. Like, he predicted a passenger plane would crash on the runway before taking off. And one of the things he predicted was that terrorists would break into this church and plant bombs inside. And it was really weird because different aspects of his dreams meant different things. So terrorists, he envisioned them as dogs in his dream. So in his dream he saw dogs running around in a church dropping watches, which meant bombs. And he basically stopped this from happening. On the series he actually got in touch with the police and he worked alongside them, and they actually prevented this from happening. It was such a strange story. Yeah, really. It's weird. Really weird.
We really don't know anything, I don't think, about what the world really is.
No, I agree.
Beyond. So, I don't know. It's like you're becoming a new kind of explorer, by trying to be able to astral project and get into that other realm. You're exploring in a very strange territory that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Because I'm not sure how true it is, but obviously you will have heard it yourself as well. Is that people believe that we don't have full access to the whole potential of our brain.
Right.
I'm not sure how true that is, but people think that a lot of our brain is actually still locked. And you can only imagine if we unlocked the other half of our brain, what we'd be able to do. It would be telekinesis and telepathy. All these different things might be available to everybody. It's just amazing to think like that.
Yeah, I could see how that would definitely be possible.
But then that leads to another question, and that is, why is it locked? Why don't we have access to the rest of our brain?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe we've just lost touch with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe we've never been fully capable yet of being at that level.
Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe because what you just said there, you said that maybe we've lost touch with it. I was talking about something similar to that tonight. So I was saying tonight that if you look back through history, like when we was building pyramids and the Great Sun Pyramid from the Mayans and things like that, it seems like civilization was more intelligent the further you go back, and then at some point we lost that. And it was like almost somebody hit a reset button and we had to start again, but all that information had been lost, all that wisdom had been lost. Because you hear these people who are architects of today saying we couldn't even build that with the technology we've got today, and it makes you think, well, if you're saying you can't build that with the technology of today, how did these people do it? So maybe something like you just said there, we've lost touch. Maybe that did happen. Maybe we were smarter as we went back and we lost touch. Something happened, and the big reset was hit.
Yeah, and that also leads into another question, which is is the history that we've been taught how it actually has been?
No, I don't believe so. I've seen so many documentaries now where they talk about the Great Sphinx of Egypt and how it's so much older than the pyramids. And there's a lot of theories that suggest that the Egyptians actually built or attempted to build the pyramids because they was in awe of the Sphinx. They realised when they turned up that somebody had already been there. So they looked at the great monuments like the Sphinx and realised that these people must have been gods. Somebody's been here before us and they've built these amazing things. These people must have been gods. This is where we'll set up. So then that's where they took it upon themselves to start building pyramids and stuff like that, once they'd realised a civilization better than themselves, more intelligent than themselves, had already been there. So yeah, I don't think that history is, like you say, the way we're told.
Yeah, if you look at the period of time from it's such a small period of time from when we were, building pyramids to today.
Yeah.
A couple thousand years? I don't know. But it is possible to me that some other civilization could have potentially maybe gotten this far further.
Yeah.
And something happened. It's not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things.
It's not a lot of time. It's not a lot of time at all. This always blows my mind, even just something as simple as this. So humans, roughly, let's just say, have been around for about 5,000 years, and the dinosaurs were around for millions of years. So the length of time that humans have been here now is not even a percentage of the time that dinosaurs roamed the earth and ruled. That blows my mind. Like, people assume that humans have been here a lot longer than dinosaurs was. That's not the case at all. Dinosaurs ruled for a very, very long time, and then we showed up, and we're still like infants. We're still very infantile in the history of the planet. Like, it blows your mind when you think like that.
Yeah, it does. And it's almost mind-blowing to imagine how we've gotten to this point where we have all these weird things like cell phones and things like that. Like, how the heck did somebody figure all this out? I'm not a scientist, so I don't know, but it seems crazy.
It really does. I mean, I understand that one technological breakthrough paves the way for the next and paves the way for the next, and it increases in speed with every invention that comes along. I get that. But there's certain things as well that just throw a spanner in the works. So, for example, we've got these smartphones and we've got all this amazing technology that's available to us, but yet we still don't have free energy. Now, I can't get my head around that. I can't get in my head how we still dig up fossil fuels to run a car, but yet we can have an iPhone 11 that's coming out soon that has 3 cameras, all these megapixels. It doesn't make no sense to me. How have we still not got a cure for cancer? But yet we can put a man on Mars and we can build spaceships that will travel. You know, these things don't make sense. There's always been talks of, like, Nikola Tesla inventing free energy and being suppressed. I just think that the world we live in isn't how people envision it. I think there's people behind governments, shadow governments, that pull the strings, if you will.
Yeah, totally possible. Another interesting thing, kind of a different topic, but not really, I guess. I recently watched a video where it was basically a compilation of clips that NASA had put out and, like, live streams where you can see that it isn't, like, real. Like, there was one scene they're filming in the space station and the one guy goes to do a somersault and the other guy beside him, like, grabs the cable hooked up to his pants and you can see it clear as day. And it's like, what is going on here? There's so many clips like that. It's actually crazy.
You'll have to send me that. I've not seen it. That seems really funny though.
It's weird, man. It's like, I believe we've been to space and whatnot, but I'm sure there's probably a percentage of the videos that come out. I'm sure there's a few of them that are fake, maybe just for, like, financial reasons.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I've got to be very careful in how I word this, because I know there's a lot of people. This topic just starts a lot of debate straight away, but this isn't me saying I believe or disbelieve. This is just me asking the questions of things that I find quite curious. So, like, the moon landings in general, there's pictures, and I'm not saying that we haven't been, and I'm not saying that we have. I'm just taking a back seat and asking the questions that I feel need answering. So there's pictures on the moon where everything is in cast shadow, and it's such deep, dark cast shadow, but yet the American flag is so well highlighted. As a photographer myself, I don't understand how that's possible. If I'm shooting in cast shadow, there's no chance other than post-production that's going to be able to highlight anything in that shadow. So I don't understand how they did that.
Yeah.
I'll have to send you the picture of what I'm talking about, and that will make far more sense. It just, as a photographer, like I said, I can't understand how that's possible without the aid of post-production.
Did you, like, another interesting thing about that is I heard a lot of footage from the moon landing was, like, lost somehow.
Yeah, no, I heard that as well.
Like, how do you lose footage of the moon, dude?
Can you imagine if that was your first day on the job and that your only responsibility was to look after the footage? So Ben, we need to dig out those files from the moon landing. Sorry, say what? Those files from the moon landing. You got them? Yeah, about that.
Unbelievable.
It is.
I don't know.
It's actually quite laughable to think that is the case. That somebody would come back from NASA and say, "Oh yeah, we lost them." Pardon? You lost the footage of the moon landing?
Yeah. I don't know.
One of the leading guys in talking about the moon as being like a satellite or an observation post for Earth was David Icke. David Icke talks a lot about that.
He's kind of a weirdo.
You know what? Like, David Icke is a weirdo, but he's one of those people that fascinates me. Like, he's a weirdo, and I listen to a lot of what he says, and I think, oh, come on now, that is just too far-fetched, like, for even me to believe. But at the same time, if I had the opportunity to sit down and talk and interview him, I would probably jump at that. Because he is fascinating, but like you said, again, he's another person that has said things in the past that have now come true. And I don't know what it is with these people, but they seem to be predicting quite a lot of things.
Yeah. I just recently, the other night, watched a documentary about, like, alien-human hybrid babies.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
What was your take on that?
What's that?
What was your take on that?
I don't know. Like, obviously, some people could have, like, mental health issues.
Yeah.
To then imagine that or think that.
I agree.
Because I worked in a hospital for a little while for, like, protective services.
Yeah.
And there was one time where a guy that we had in there he would swear like he was being visited by aliens, I remember.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting because I was thinking to myself too, like, maybe this guy isn't, like, maybe there's nothing wrong with him. What if he actually is being visited by aliens?
Yeah.
And we're just, makes you wonder.
It does, yeah. Like, I think that a lot of people with, I think it's Alzheimer's and stuff like that, where people's brain becomes scrambled. And to the average person, it might sound like they're talking gibberish, but I think, like what you just said there, what happens if they're not, and it's all us that think that person's crazy, but actually, he's talking more sense than anybody. So on that video I've just been watching, where you was doing the interview with, what was it again? What channel was that?
Bigfoot Odyssey.
Yeah, so I just finished watching that, and it was brought up during that conversation about Bigfoot mimicking, and it made me think, because I've heard a story. Some guy had an experience in his house. He'd heard some disturbance downstairs in the living room, and he'd gone down to check what was going on, and there was a creature, an ET or some type of being in his living room. And obviously, as he saw this being, it was stood at the fireplace where all the pictures of his family and kids are. And as it turned to look at him, the guy said it was almost like it was trying to change into my son that it had just been looking at on the picture. I thought that was really strange. Like, again, I don't know how true that is, but it was just a really good concept, that the fact this thing had been looking at the family the portrait, and had tried to mimic the boy in the picture. Like, yeah.
In the documentary I just watched about the hybrids, this one guy was saying that in one of his experiences where he was with these beings, this hybrid being that I guess was one of his children or something, was looking at him, but sometimes when he would look at it, it would, like, glitch out in a weird way where he could see behind its face, almost looked like some sort of reptilian being.
Wow.
That kind of stuff's weird. When people talk about, like, reptilians and shit like that, it just... I'm not ready for that yet.
No. Well, you know about my experience with that, don't you? I've told you about that before. And again, like... even with me having the experience, I'm still skeptical. Because my mind will not compute that I saw something green walking through the forest that looked alien. My brain just won't have it. So even though I've had that experience, I'm still very skeptical, which is very strange, because you'd think out of everybody I'd be the most believable, but I just can't take my brain there yet, just not yet. It was definitely weird. It was definitely something strange. Definitely something I've never seen before or since. But am I ready to say that it was a reptilian? I don't know if I am just yet.
Yeah, I don't know. That's one of those things where it's hard because you were so young.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I think about that quite a lot, actually. Like, when I'm out hiking or when I'm out in the woods and stuff, I often think about that. And I've sat there many times before and tried to take myself back. And I'm 110% certain that I saw what I saw. What that was, I'm still not decided. It'd be interesting, actually, to go under some kind of a hypnotic regression and just see what can be pulled from that. However, I'm not sure how much I believe that either. So
yeah, dude, if I was you and I was out in the bush by myself and I would just think about that experience, it would freak me out.
Honestly, it does. Like, there's been times where I've been, because I can't remember where the location was. I remember what it looked like, but I can't pinpoint exactly where it was. Like, I couldn't take you back there. People said to me, why don't you go back? And I can't, because I don't know where it was. I was so young. This was a random pit stop. But however, I can remember exactly what it looked like. And there's been times where I've been out walking through the forest and I've come across a patch or an area that just makes me feel like I'm in a place very similar. And I start thinking about it, and the minute I start thinking about it, the minute I start freaking out, and it's like, come on, just think about something else. It's such a scary thought. The weirdest thing is that I know it saw me, and I know that sounds strange, but I know 100% that it saw me. Like, I saw it move, I looked exactly in its I looked directly in its direction, and this thing looked up at me, and it just didn't seem phased. That's the most scariest part for me, is that it didn't seem phased. I would expect it to be startled or stop in its tracks or run off or anything. It didn't. It just carried on walking like it was before I saw. Like, you know, it was just the weirdest thing. Like,
or if it might have known that you couldn't do anything to it. There's no reason for it to be scared.
Yeah, but like, how would it know that? Like, I think about it now and I think, how did it know that I wasn't going to run off back to the bus screaming like murder? Like, how did it know that? It was so calm.
Probably an alien.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but like I said, I've never seen anything even remotely close like since. But I'd love more answers. I'd love to find out. I'd love somebody to be able to tell me exactly what that was and say, look, this is the proof. Many people have seen, and this is what it was. I'd love that.
The coolest thing to do would be like, there's got to be some way to figure out the general area where that happened.
I know, yeah, there has to be.
And to do like a trip out there, like some overnighters.
Yeah, I feel if I found the outbuilding, like the little brick hut, if that was still standing and that was still in the forest, I feel like I could be able to say, yeah, this is the location. However, it was that many years ago, it's unlikely that that building will still be there, but if it was, I reckon I could do that.
Mm-hmm. Do you know like what road it was on, or highway?
I know where we'd been, that's about as much as it is. I know where we'd been, I don't know what route we would have taken back, but I suppose I could go. There can only be so many ways back, so I could maybe go to the place I knew where we'd camped out and just take every route back, and it would be a lengthy process, but there's nothing stopping me from doing that. I could maybe do that.
Dude, that would be so sweet in a video. Like, make a little film just about that, because that's weird.
It is so weird. Like, it's one of the things where I've just wanted answers so bad, like just to even if somebody said, oh, it was nothing, it was just this, then that's fine, but I just want definitive proof. But I'll probably never get it, and that's what kills the most. Like so many questions, like what the hell was it doing? Like, this was literally in the middle of nowhere. It was just a random stop, and yet this creature, tall, stooped over, with a relatively small head but large eyes, was walking through this wood. I don't understand what that was doing there.
A coincidence that it was right where you guys stopped?
Exactly. Well, this is the thing. Was it a chance opportunity, like a chance occurrence? A lot of these UFO sightings, like Travis Walton, he didn't plan to be there to see a UFO. He was actually just logging, and he was in the right place at the right time. And I just think, is that what happened to me? Was it a chance chance sighting?
It could have been following you guys somehow, or watching you. Like, it might have came out of something.
Well, I think that brick outbuilding maybe had something to do with it. I'm not sure what, but I just find it weird that was the only thing left standing in this forest, in this woods. Just a tiny brick building. It was decaying, it was bricks all over, and there was ivy growing all over it. So it definitely wasn't in use. There wasn't a house nearby that this little building belonged to. And yet this green creature is walking away from that. That must have some significance, surely.
It's like something out of Stranger Things.
It really is. It's the most creepiest thing. Yeah.
But your last video of that place you were at with like the circular ruin looking. What is that? It looks like it's old and they might be restoring it, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It
looks like an ancient site.
I've walked through that forest so many times, like I said at the start of that video. I've covered so many miles in there. And I was laid in bed one night and I was thinking, what can I do for a video? Like, how can I find new locations? So I just decided, I thought I'll download Google Earth again. Like, I've had it before in the past, never really used it. But I just thought, I'll see what's in the local area. I've only been living here 7 months. It would be interesting if Google Earth can show me something. So I opened Google Earth, and sure enough, in the forest where I've hiked many times, this little square showed up, and I was like, oh, I zoomed in, that's quite interesting. And yeah, when I turned up the next day, just, I don't know what it's going to be, if it's finished or if it's getting restored or anything, I don't know. It was just quite an interesting find.
Yeah, it'd be neat to know what it is, because it looked like some of those rocks had some weird,
yeah,
like petroglyphs or whatnot on them, and writing.
Yeah.
I mean, in your part of the world, you guys have a lot of like medieval history.
Oh, tons of it. Yeah, you'd be.
And we don't have a lot of that here. There's just a bunch of like First Nations stuff, but that's really hard to just stumble on in the woods.
Yeah.
Oh, there's something else that came to my mind. Oh yeah, I was going to ask you. When you're out camping, do you find, like, when you're sleeping in a tent, do you find that your dreams are like much more vivid and clear?
Yeah, I dream so much anyway. Like, I'm a very heavy dreamer. But when I'm out in the woods, for some reason, I do dream a lot more vividly. Sometimes as well, when I'm in the woods, I can have multiple dreams, like, which is really strange. It's like my brain flicks from one dream to the next dream to the next dream, and there might be only small dreams that last maybe a minute or what feel like a minute, but there's lots of them. That's really that's a really strange experience. So there's not like one prolonged dream. It's just like many dreams throughout the night. It's really strange.
Yeah, I have that happen like nightly at home. Like, I'll have so many different dreams. It'll just go from one thing to the next, and I'm like, how did I end up in this place?
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Do you are you a heavy dreamer then? Do you dream quite often?
Every night, man.
I'm the same. I dream every night. Like, Carrie, the girl I'm with, a girlfriend, she can't understand how I dream so much. Like, I'm sure that she thinks I'm lying, but I'll wake up and I'll be like, I've had the craziest dream, and she'll be like, again? How do you remember? And I'm like, I don't know, but I just do. Like, I dream so much. I might start a dream book, actually, like a dream journal.
Yeah. I started one back when I was learning about like astral projection and lucid dreaming.
Yeah, they say to do that, don't they? Like, to document it.
Like, I think if you do it for a couple weeks, you'll probably start experiencing weird things.
Yeah.
It doesn't take very long. I did it in college, and after doing it for like a week and a half, maybe, I had like a weird sleep paralysis experience.
That must be terrifying, like, to experience sleep paralysis.
Yeah, it's weird. In that instance, I was lying in bed and I woke up and I could see like a dark mass. It just looked like a dark mass of black energy up in the corner of the room by the ceiling.
Oh no. I was going to ask you about this. Just as you mentioned there, sleep paralysis. One of the things that many people explain while experiencing sleep paralysis is the Hat Man. Have you ever heard of the Hat Man?
I've heard of the Hat Man, yeah.
Yeah, so this is like a phenomenon that happens with people while experiencing sleep paralysis. There's also the Haggard Woman as well. So there's two people, the Hat Man and the Haggard Woman. And when you mentioned this black mass, I just thought, oh my god, this is so creepy. Maybe you experienced them.
I've heard of both of those. When this thing happened, I remember my roommate that I had, he was passed out on his bed as well. And I just remember lying there trying to like say his name to wake him up, because I was that much, like, I was so panicked. And his name was Calvin, and I was like, Calvin! And he just wouldn't wake up. And then I just remember eventually I just passed out.
That must be so like such a terrifying, yeah.
You don't forget things like that when they happen.
So when you was experiencing the sleep paralysis and you was freaking out because you couldn't move or speak, when it eventually wore off, did you still feel the same terror, the same fright, or was it kind of like, wow, that was weird?
When it was done happening, I just passed out and I didn't even know until I woke up the next day.
That is so weird.
But I could remember it perfectly. Like, I remembered it way more vividly than a dream.
That is so strange.
Yeah.
Apparently, I might be wrong, but apparently that occurs because when we go to sleep on a night, there's a chemical that's released into the body that stops us acting out our dreams. And some people, like yourself, manage to wake up between just getting to that point of sleep and just getting to that point of that chemical. So you're waking up between the chemical being released, so you're actually paralysed, but you're still awake.
I don't know the science behind it.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Have you've never had anything like that happen? Sometimes, like, I've heard when people are like learning how to astral project, between that phase of feeling the vibrations and actually going out of body, some people will see like entities around their bed. And
I've never experienced sleep paralysis, thank God. But one thing that always did scare me when I was trying to practice astral projection was I read a few horror stories where people had claimed that they got stuck and they couldn't make their way back to the body. That always terrified me.
Yeah, that would suck.
That would really suck.
It would be a neat experiment to do, to like document the journey trying to get to that place, but it's like, how do you portray that?
Yeah.
You know?
Be so weird. Sleep is such a weird thing, because I was just thinking in that brief second there while he was talking, I was thinking, so if you astral project and you can't make your way back to your body, and then you lived in that world forever, how would you know that that world is not the real world and your body asleep on the bed is the dream? I'm just blowing my own mind, sorry.
Dude, I don't know, in that alien documentary I just watched, one of the guys said, he's like, I can't remember who it was in the documentary said it, but they were like, when I had this experience and I was like with these beings, it seemed more real than like real life.
Yeah, that's something that you hear time and time again, and that happens as well with people who have had near-death experiences. Like, if you listen to a lot of near-death experiences, they always say that colours were more vivid and noises were more vibrant and everything just seemed more real. Like, that's really weird, isn't it, that people say the same thing?
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know.
It sounds like the craziest trip ever, doesn't it? Like, you hear these people that take mushrooms and all these other things, and that's kind of how they like recall their trips, like being very vivid colours and things like that. Are you scared of death, Justin? Like, does it bother you, or?
Not really. Not really. I don't really think about that, so.
Yeah.
It's never really been something that's bothered me. I don't know why.
No, like...
it's just because once I go, I'm not going to really know.
That's right.
So it doesn't really matter, I guess. That sounds kind of nihilistic. And
it doesn't bother me in the slightest, but the only thing that would really piss me off is if I die and then all of a sudden I see the light and I start going towards the light and then I'm getting pushed out of my vagina again, it all starts again. I'd be like, no! Why?
I don't know. It's just something that I've never really been bothered by.
No.
I mean, what bothers me about death is just visualizing or imagining like loved ones or friends die. That's the saddest part.
I'll tell you a weird story. So, my dad's dad used to, basically, cut a long story short here, right? My dad was a long distance lorry driver, so he'd drive up and down the country, and his job basically was to sell mushrooms, not the magic kind, just factory mushrooms that would be sold to supermarkets. And his dad was very close to him, so he'd always go along and sit in the cab and they'd have a laugh and a joke. And basically his dad passed away, but before he passed away he made a pact, because my dad is a lot like me, he's very open-minded about the supernatural and things like that. And so they'd made this pact between themselves before he started losing his mind. And he said, look, when you go, if there is something after this life, please come back and try and give me 3 signs. And so my granddad had agreed and said, yeah, if I do go, if I move on somewhere else and I'm able to do it, I'll come back and I'll give you 3 signs. And this is the craziest story, honestly, this is so crazy. So when my granddad died, my dad took us all out as a family just to clear the air, and we went to a butterfly sanctuary. It was like a tropical world, and in this tropical world they had a gift shop, and you know the racks that sell pens and they've got your name on there and all this kind of stuff. Well, we went into this gift shop and there was a massive rack of pens and they all had names on there. My dad I was there, I saw it myself as a kid, I saw this with my own 2 eyes. He spanned this rack around and he stopped it randomly on a pen. The pen said Eric, and that was my granddad's name. and the description underneath Eric, it was said something about him being a very loyal, trustworthy person, or something like that. And my dad was like, "That's amazing! Like, out of all these pens, I picked the one that's got my dad's name on, and the detail and description is exactly how I would explain my dad." So he took that, he bought it, and he took that as sign one. We go outside and we sit on a bench. It's a red hot day, and my dad says, "Anyone want ice cream?" So we all get ice creams. My dad finishes his ice lolly. Again, I'm sat there, I witnessed this with my own two eyes, and on the lolly stick it said, the joke was, "What do you call two happy mushrooms?" Well, my dad used to sell mushrooms for a living, and the answer was two fun guys. And so my dad's like, "Oh my god, this is getting weirder by the second." Like, my dad used to come with me selling mushrooms, and we used to have a right laugh and a joke, and so the joke was two fun guys. Like, he took that as sign two. That night he gets home, and he starts sinking in that he's lost his dad, and he's sat at the kitchen table. And my dad is very, like, as open-minded as he is, he just wouldn't believe anything. He's a lot like myself. He'd want hard proof before he just says, "Yeah, that's what this is." And so he sat at the kitchen table reminiscing, and all of a sudden, as he starts to cry, the plant on the windowsill starts to shake really violently, as if somebody's just grabbed hold of it and started shaking it. And it stopped him crying instantly. He turned around, he saw this plant move, and he walked over to it, he said, as I went to reach out and touch the leaves, every one of them just stopped instantly. And he said there was no windows open, there was no explanation or no breeze for why that should have happened. He said, but it instantly stopped me crying, and I took that as sign 3. And I just thought that was a crazy story, that they had this pact that if any of them died before the other, they'd come back and tell each other, and there was 3 signs in one day after he died. I thought it was really strange. So yeah, I believe in stuff like that. I believe that I don't know where we go, I don't know what happens to us when we die, but I don't believe this is the end. I don't think that we die and that's it. I think something happens, I'm not sure what that is. I'm not a religious person, but I just think there's more to it.
Yeah, well, there has to be. I mean, we're all made up of energy. So what happens to that energy and where does it go?